All right, folks, welcome back to the Everyday Hero Show, where I bring to you someone in your life or someone in my life that brings us joy, happiness, and all around good things, but does not get the credit that they deserve. This week we have Joanne Purdy. Miss Purdy, how are you doing today?
I am spectacular. How
Well,
are you?
that's good. I'm good. I'm very, very good, and I'm very happy that you're doing this. Just from the get, I asked this to everybody, and there's three big questions. Take them where you wanna. Who are you? Where are you from? And why biology?
My name's Joanne Purdy, and I teach at Westboro High School in Westboro, Massachusetts. I also have been teaching with a group called BioBuilder. It was originally kind of out of MIT. It's a nonprofit group, and we bring authentic science in synthetic biology to high school students all around the nation. And it actually started when I was at Newton North with you. And actually next week, I'm traveling to Tennessee to teach teachers about how to teach synthetic biology in their high school classrooms. And I do a lot of teaching and a lot of traveling over the summer. And why biology? That is a great question. One that I don't really know if I know the real answer to that. Science came kind of naturally to me. I don't know that I was always the best at it when I was a high school student, but it made sense to me, and it kind of came naturally to me, and I liked it. But as a biology teacher, something that I think about a lot is that science is for everyone. Science is for everyone. I want everybody to walk through that door. And next year, we will have 5 sections of AP biology, which is amazing. Yeah, I love them. I'm like, we got to order more books. Like, we need more money. We need more labs. We need more equipment. I just got my third Westboro Education Foundation grant for more equipment. I've written 3 grants. They've given me every penny I've ever asked for. I'm so lucky. I'm so fortunate. And we think about this all the time. What do we want to do as a profession? And, we take strange paths to get there. But I feel very much like we land where we're supposed to be. It may be an unconventional path. You may think that you always wanted to do this thing, but somehow we end up landing in the right place. And I teach a lot of high flyers that are wound really tight. And where do I want to go to school? And what classes do I need to take? Relax. You will land in the right place. It will just kind of happen. You will see, organically, the right things will just kind of happen.
I love that. I love that so much, because whenever someone asks me how I ended up becoming a nurse, I say the same thing. Like,
Yep.
Science came easy to me, and I took that aptitude test at Newton North when I was graduating, and like the list that came from that aptitude test was like coach, nurse, teacher. I took it again. It was like teacher, nurse, coach. And the science was the one that made the most sense. I was like, let's try nursing. And like, you're right. You find yourself in a place doing something, right? It is easier to say on this end of it when you already do it. Because I do remember the amount of anxiety it was. Because especially you teach high school, especially when you are so like sophomore, junior, and then in your entire college experiences, what do you want to do? What are you going to be? What do you want to do? What are you going to be? What do you want? And it's like, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And you don't know.
Exactly. It's really hard to pick. It's like I have a billion things to choose from, and you're telling me to make a decision and like dedicate myself to that. You do end up finding your way.
You have when you have that natural curiosity, you want a little bit of everything.
Exactly.
All the time. And this grow and develop, and you do a little of this and you're like, oh, I don't really like that. And you do a little bit of that and you're like, oh, I like that less. You do a little of this. Oh, I kind of like that. I'm going to try a little more of that. And that's what happens. And it takes a while to convince some people that that's how it really goes.
It really, really does. And Ms. Purdy, when I reached out to talk to you, there was one story that you told when I was in your biology class. This is years ago now.
Oh my God.
That just made me like like I'm in nursing and I deal with like blood and gore. And like I think that's one level of like, okay, you have to be a certain type of person. But
Yeah,
I remember you telling me a story that when you were at college, and I'm pretty sure you said you went to UMass. I'm
I
just
did.
turning off this. I'm just turning off this AC here. Um, I remember you telling us that part of your either graduate or your just training as a biology student was that you had to find, pick up, and bring back to the college roadkill.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that. One of the things,
Is this what I want? What I'm asking is this a standard for biology students? Because that was the craziest thing I've ever thought of. But I do remember it very vividly from your class.
I was doing a little bit of volunteer work with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and
Oh,
yeah, but it was when I was a college student though, and
okay.
we picked up some roadkill and we chopped it up and we threw it out onto the Quabbin Reservoir for eagle restoration in winter.
Oh, so that had nothing to do with the program. That's just you being a kind-hearted person.
That was me being a kind-hearted person and wanting to volunteer. Yeah, I was a college student at the time, but actually it was one of the things that either professors or somebody recommended. They're like, go out and do some volunteer work, get out into the field and see what you like. Okay. And actually it's kind of funny. It was through Westboro, which is where I teach now, which is ironic.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was the Department of Fish and Wildlife. We went around, we picked up some roadkill, we chopped up some stuff, which was really kind of gross. We threw it in some freezers and then we used it later on for eagle restoration out on the Quabbin Reservoir. We threw out the roadkill onto the ice, watched the eagles come down.
Oh, that's beautiful. That really, really is beautiful. That's just one of those stories that stuck with me. And I was like, wow, Miss Birdie's a gangster. I mean, that's craziness. I think that's craziness. But I want to take this back some, okay? Do you have teachers in your family? Like, I know you said it just came to you, but I want you to expand on that, especially for like high school students that might be watching this. What do you mean by it just came to you? Is it something you liked? Were you good at the class? Did you ever have to study? Like, or were you just super curious and you like wanted to do the extra mile and you figured if I want to do the extra mile, that's probably the way to go?
So that's an interesting question, one that I think about all the time. So when I graduated from college, I had no idea what I was going to do. From a biology perspective, I had no idea. And if you would have, listed, I say this to students all the time, if you would have listed out like the top 20 things that, Joanne Purdy could have done as a career, and if teacher was on there, I would have been like, no, let's cross that one off. I'm not interested in that. Nope.
Just a quick pause. I'm so sorry for cutting you off, but what did you graduate with?
Yeah, I have an undergraduate degree in wildlife and fisheries biology and conservation, and
Okay.
a master's degree in biology.
Gotcha.
Yep. So teaching was never really in the mix for me. I applied for some positions as an undergraduate student, and I ended up, working for the Department of the Interior for a little while as a field biologist, which I really liked. But it was a funky position. I got paid off of a grant, and I didn't have health insurance, and it didn't pay very much. It was fun, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't feel like I made a difference. I'm going out every day. And like I said, it's, when you're like 23 years old, something like that, that's fun, right? Out you go, walking around in the mud, and, playing in the streams, catching frogs. I mean, it was, like I said, it was fun, but I just didn't feel like I made a difference. And when I was a college student, I was in the UMass Minutemen marching band, and I had, I had teaching opportunities there, like as field staff. So I had like my first dabbling of kind of being an instructor. And my husband at the time is a music and still is a instrumental music teacher. And he's like, well, we need some subs. I know. He's like, well, we need some subs. So I'm like, okay. So I was a substitute teacher during the day. And then at night, I would do the research part, the computery part of stuff at night. And so I would sub a couple of days. I would be out in the field a couple of days. It was just kind of a big smash up. And then I said, you know what? I kind of like being in the classroom. That like, this feels good to me. I feel like I make a difference, as a sub, right? And then I was a long-term, so they knew I was a sciencey person. So then they put me in as a long-term sub for a teacher that was out sick for a long time. And I really kind of liked it. So then I went to school. I substitute taught during the day. I did research at night, and I took some classes at night so I could get a teaching license. And then I got hired like off the street. Like I never student taught. I took a couple of education classes. It just felt like the right thing to do. And so to answer the first part of your question, I don't have teachers in my family at all.
Okay.
Nope, nothing. And so this didn't really seem like it was something that was in the cards for me. I didn't have teachers in
Yeah.
my family. It just didn't click. It's funny the way things work out. You land where you're meant to be.
Yeah. It didn't click until it clicked. And that's a lot of the times it feels that way. A lot of life feels that way, right?
Yeah.
A quick thing. What did you play in the marching band?
I didn't. I spun a rifle and a saber and a flag. I was
Yo, Miss Purdy, you lived the real life. That's
I
amazing.
lived a real life.
Yeah.
I love the way you just put that. I know somebody said to me that they're like, Joanne, you're like an onion. What? I smell like what?
Oh no.
You're like an onion. You have all these layers to you.
Oh yes.
That's why I got a lot of time to make a lot of layers.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And you know what? I think I've reached a point, so much in my career. I teach with BioBuilder. I teach high school. Like I dabble in so many things because I can now, because
Yep.
right, as the more you do what you're good at, the better and better you get at it, and that the confidence in yourself builds and builds and builds, and then you can do anything.
Exactly. And like the opportunities start just like presenting themselves.
Exactly. And you can take all of those opportunities because you have such great confidence. Like, yeah, I don't have to spend 8 hours preparing for this lesson anymore because I've done it 15,000 times already. I can just walk in the door and do it. So guess what? I can do this podcast.
Yes, exactamundo. So let's get into this teaching situation here. Just trying to follow that story that you were telling me, when you said that you were subbing and teaching other college students? Were you like a TA, or were you teaching actual students, high school, grade school?
Yeah. So when I was an undergraduate student, I was a TA for an avian field studies class, but that's not what you're talking about. After I graduated and I had my, brand new bachelor's degree that I thought was a big deal, I was substitute teaching in high schools, middle schools. I was the daily sub. I had my little calendar book, and I would walk into the office, and the very nice secretaries would say, "Okay, we have these days." Like back when it was old-fashioned paper and pencil, we have days available. What days are you available? Yep, I'll take that one. I'll take that one. I'll take that one. And I got like my $40 a day.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So when you had the opportunity, to teach and sub through the different classes, the different grades, how did you end up getting to the place where high school was the one, and specifically you teach? Because I remember you being my biology teacher for senior year. So it seems though, and you think AP classes right now that you teach. So it sounds like you teach juniors and seniors.
So sophomores, juniors, seniors. Yeah.
Okay. So did you ever want to teach younger? Did you ever want to teach a different grade? And why the upper classes?
I think of that actually, it's kind of funny the way it worked out. When I took this job in Westboro, it was advertised as a biology teacher position. So I was like, great, that's me. And then when I came for the interview, they're like, actually, it's 2 ninth grade physical, it used to be physical science. It's 2 ninth grade physical science classes and 3 biology classes. I'm like, well, you know what? I want the job. It's in the next town over. Okay, that'll be fun. Like I haven't taught, ninth grade ever. And I like some physical science. Okay, we'll just give it a go. And then actually it ended up being like, actually it's 3 physical science and only 2 biology. I'm like, oh, 2, 3, what difference does it make? I want the job anyway. Fine. Ninth grade is it's really young for me. Really, really, really young. In middle school, same thing. They're just too young for me. It's really hard to get down. It's really hard for me to teach like the basic fundamentals. I do so much better with the upper echelon, and it takes like my husband teaches middle school. It takes such real skill to anchor in those, basic fundamentals, whether it's music or art or Spanish or biology, chemistry, whatever it is. I personally just do better with the upper echelon. And arguably, especially with some of our, students that are, really, ELL students,
Yep.
English learner students that are first generation. I love them. But it takes such a skilled educator to work with that population of students. And I just haven't gained those skills. I'm just better at this part of the spectrum, and I'm going to leave that other part of the spectrum to other people that really have that amazing skill set. I just don't have it, sadly.
I love how you're putting this. I mean, that's a lot of reflection to have come to the realization like that is not for me, and I don't have the skill set for that, right? Not just, oh, I like this better. That is true reflection. The next question I have is, now that you are teaching the bio builders at MIT,
Yeah.
do you have any interest in going to the next level, on moving from high school into college, like mainly?
Yeah. So I've taught some college level. I've dabbled with some college students here and there as an adjunct, which I like very much. But I really love this. I love the AP biology population at the high school level. I like it a lot. Yeah, they're just students that I just click with. It works for me. And I started a PhD a while back ago, but it was the wrong program, which was kind of a bummer. And that was a unfortunate reality. I'm in this program. I really wanted to do this thing, but this program is not the right program for me. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to put a hold on this and figure something else out. What I wanted to do for a very long time, and I still do, but in a different kind of way, and I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work out, I would really like to teach early career teachers. People that are interested in being a science teacher. And what does that look like? What does it look like to grow a good science teacher? What kind of skills do we really need? How do you really run a lab? How do you really run a classroom? I think those are the next pieces. And I had, in my brain, I had thought, maybe I'll go teach at a community college or state level college. I have some connections with UMass. Maybe I'll go, teach teachers at UMass. Maybe I'll be, a visiting teacher, people that visit cooperating teachers. I've had 5 student teachers in my career, which I have really loved. And I used to think that maybe that would be kind of my calling, but you know what, with the BioBuilder group out of MIT, and it just, same thing, things just kind of fall into your lap, and then they feel good, and then you run with it. So I've been working with them now for 12 years, and I've had an absolutely amazing opportunity to run lots of workshops for teachers about how do you teach synthetic biology to high school students, how do you run a lab. Synthetic biology is really like the cutting edge of biology right now. Like the vaccines for COVID are made using synthetic biology. And I really love that piece. I love working with early career teachers, or any teachers that are, in the classroom day in and day out. And how can we do even more? How can we make that even better? How can we get the most bang for our buck with what we teach? How can we have an authentic hands-on lab experience? And how can we encourage students to keep going in public health, in life sciences, in public health? Because we need it. As you're in public health,
Preach.
We need it. And we need people that maybe they didn't think that was the career for them. Maybe they didn't think that this is the route they would go. But if we can spark something in young people that, I'd never thought about that before. Oh, that's another opportunity. That's like, try a little of everything. I think that's more my speed at this point.
Yeah. And you touched upon it just a little bit, but I want you to get into a little bit more detail. So you're saying that synthetic biology, synthetic science is the cutting edge. What exactly do you mean by that? What is synthetic science? What is synthetic biology?
I'm ready. This is you. Thank you. This is my prelude to my workshop next week. Okay. So if you think about it, it makes sense. DNA is a programming language. It's instead of ones and zeros, it's A's, T's, C's, and G's. And we are at the point where we can make a piece of DNA, which is synthetic. So you can punch in essentially like into a 3D printer, you can punch in, the DNA code that you want, and the 3D printer will print out your synthetic piece of DNA, right? It's DNA made out of A's, T's, C's, and G's, but now it is the DNA that you have programmed in. So it has the genes in it that you want. So synthetic biologists are not trying to create new organisms. They're just trying to modify existing organisms to do what we want them to do something useful, like make a vaccine or make a medicine. And there are tons of amazing examples out there. And like a really simple example is vanilla. For example, when you go buy vanilla at the grocery store, that vanilla is made by an orchid. So vanilla beans are not beans, they're pods of an orchid. And to grow those orchids, it takes a lot of water, a lot of land, a lot of resources. Does it really matter that the orchid makes your vanilla? Can you get a yeast to make that vanilla for you? And the answer is we can, and it's already out there. And it's a company, and they make synthetic vanilla, and it's real vanilla. It's the exact same genes that are in the orchid, but you just give it to a yeast, and the yeast makes the vanilla for you. And now you don't have to hack down the forests of Madagascar and Mexico to get your vanilla. Now your vanilla is made by a yeast. It tastes the same, looks the same. It's exactly the same thing, just made by a different organism, and it's more sustainable. Impossible meat.
Yep.
Pasta burgers, that's
Yep.
synthetic biology. That was
Okay.
made, that was made by a yeast, genes from yeast, and it's synthetic because you type it into a 3D printer, you print out the DNA that you want, so it has all the good parts that you want and none of the bad parts you don't want. And now a new organism is going to use that DNA to make a product that we want, like synthetic flavoring, like rice that has more vitamin A in it, like meat that like this compound that looks like meat, smells like meat, tastes like meat, but isn't made by a cow or sheep, right? It's more sustainable, and the possibilities of this are endless. I just gave you a few simple examples.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing, right? And like the Impossible Burgers, I understand. What I don't understand is are you printing out this synthetic DNA and then are you implementing it into the yeast? Is that like how it happens, or is it like, yeah?
Yeah. So what you do, the simplest way to do it is to put and maybe here we go back to some biology, maybe you remember. And the simplest way to do things is to build a full plasmid, which is those extra little rings of DNA that are in, especially in bacteria, and some yeast have them too. And there are other eukaryotic organisms that have plasmids too. But bacteria are kind of our go-to, and you put all the DNA in a little plasmid ring, so all these genes work all together, and then you do transformation, which means you encourage the bacterial cell to open up its membrane and take in that whole plasmid, like all those genes that work together. So the whole plasmid goes into the bacterial cell, and the cell expresses the genes in the plasmid ring.
Wow. So yeah, no, I definitely don't remember any biology. Just listen to you talk, but I'm happy you explained it. We definitely need to, I think this is by far, it 100% is going to be the future. I don't know how much of this is related to actual gene editing, but in the medical world, that is like every future medication treatment plan is going into gene editing, like 24/7, 365. That's all you hear about the future of medicine.
So here's another spectacular example is CAR T cell therapy, chimeric antigen receptor, CAR, C-A-R, T cell, right? So people that have a cancer, right? Here you go, right? People that have a cancer, what we can do is we can remove cells from a patient, their own T cells, make a synthetic gene, give their cells that synthetic gene, and that gene codes for a protein receptor for the outside that's going to sit on the surface of their cell. And that receptor is going to attack the cancer cells.
That's beautiful.
Right, here you go. So let's say I have a cancer, you remove the T cells from me, you give my T cells this synthetic gene to make a protein to kill the cancer. You let my cells do mitosis, replicate for a while. Now you're going to give me back my own cells that just are a little souped up, right? You're going to give me back my cells, and now my cells are going to kill the cancer in my own body. And they're going to do replication on their own. And then once the cancer's gone, and my body fought off the cancer on its own.
Yeah, I mean, I think the future of medicine, obviously the future of biology, right, is like very integral to the future of medicine, but the future of medicine seems like impossibly great. I like there's just no ceiling. If we can get this science down pat, yeah, it's gonna be beautiful.
What year did you graduate from high school?
2012.
2012.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm just like getting my time frames all together. So, okay, got it.
It was a good way to think of it. We were 2 years into that new North High School.
The new building.
Yep.
What about the building too?
Yep. You getting out of the nitty gritty of the science and just a little bit big picture to the actual teaching of biology, specifically to high school students. You asked like the ether, the questions I want to ask you. How do you set up a good lab? How do you get a student that is coming into school? I mean, you are a teacher, so you see 24/7, right? But I just remember high school being like, you get to school and you have to go through a list of classes. And it's like really quick switches. Like I walk into a history class, I have 5 minutes to then switch my brain into biology, 5 minutes to switch my brain to Spanish, right? Yeah. And then by the end of the day, I'm supposed to have kept all this million pieces of knowledge in my head. How do you go about teaching a high school student being very aware of what their schedule looks like, the fact that they have practice after school, the fact that they have to study, the fact that they have this big MCAS or SATs that they have to do at the end of the semester? How do you go about making it a successful class?
There's one word: relationships. You got to connect with every kiddo. That's it. You got to build that relationship with every student. You got to build that community in the classroom. And I'll show you it if you want. Do you mind if we travel a little bit?
By all means, show me, take me on the tour.
Okay, so here's the tour.
Yeah.
We can tour all over the place, but let me show you. This is my, like, one of the most favorites of the favorites. Let's see if you can see all of this. Can you see that? Is it backward for you?
Yes. This is a community?
This is a community effort.
Yes. This is
a community effort. And so students
that's beautiful.
Painted this and we put our handprints all over it, right? And that's the crux of the whole thing. And you know what I love this. We as ownership to the classroom. I used to group things based on whales. So I would have
You're such a biology teacher. That's amazing.
So I would have signs like this was like the blue whale, and this was the northern right whale, and this was the humpback whale. And I would say, okay, you're the humpback whale group, you're the right whale group. And a student said, Ms. Purdy, we should paint the whales. Oh. We should paint the whales. So look at that. Isn't that amazing?
That's beautiful.
Right? And that's beautiful. So now I can say, and actually, so here it is. Here are the cultures that are growing. I have to ship the cultures to Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I got to grow them out here. I got to ship them FedEx on Monday. Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. And
please bubble wrap. Make sure they don't spill.
I know, it's nuts. But that's the deal. To answer your question, how do we do this, right? How do we have each student really take ownership? Oh, look at this! They made me a T-shirt. They made me a T-shirt with all of these hold on, let me get
is that on the skeleton?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I wore it, but now he's wearing it. So all of these things, everything is a community effort.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Say no to the big, when you do Punnett squares, you shouldn't do one big giant square. That's a nightmare. Make two squares, multiply them together. And all these Purdyisms, in biology, shape matters. Variation in the population always exists. Find Q squared when you do Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. They made me a T-shirt. They're awesome. I just love them. I love them so much. Every single one of them. And so to answer your question, like, how do you get people to buy in?
Yeah,
How do you make it all sing? How do you make the class important to them every day? How do you
exactly.
even do that? Relationships. You have to trust them. They have to trust you. And that takes some building, takes time.
It really does. It really does. And it's so funny, right? If you were to give me a quiz on anything you taught me, I'd fail miserably. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry, Miss
Oh, me
Birdie. I
too.
would.
I'd fail it all.
So I would fail miserably. But the reason when we connected, I reached out so quickly is because what you just said. It's like the safety and like there's certain like classes and teachers in my memory. I remember walking into that class and not so much I love the subject, not so much like the previous teachers I've had on was an English teacher and a Spanish teacher and my football coach, right? And
Right?
it's not so much that they have anything in common, but the one thing that was in common with all of these teachers were the fact that I felt safe. The fact that like I could go to that class, I was excited to raise my hand if I knew the answer or if I had a question. Those
Yep.
were the things that made me feel like not so much that like I like this, but like
I
I'm
feel good.
willing to learn. Yeah,
I'm ready. Yep.
exactly.
Exactly. I'm
Exactly.
ready. I feel safe. I feel comfortable here. Right? It's a community effort. I feel like I fit in, and I feel like this is a good place to learn. I feel comfortable here. And once you have that, then you can learn Greek, right? You
Yeah, exactly.
can Latin, Greek, philosophy doesn't matter. I'll do whatever you ask because I feel comfortable here.
So talking about teaching teachers, right? I want you to help these new teachers, right? If when you are in a class and when you're in an AP class, I don't know if it's like the vibe is a little different, but like in a regular biology class, when you do have a student who is struggling or a student who is excelling, how do you find that in between? How do you teach so everyone is getting it? When you know someone is not getting it, how slow are you making the rest of the program? How do you do that? How do you do that balance?
Very carefully. So a lot. And so what it comes back to a lot of the same time, and I say this a lot too. I say anybody can teach, it doesn't have to be me. So, very often if the person next to them really gets it, I'll say, Swartik's a good teacher. Yep, Swartik can teach. Doesn't have to be me. If
Yeah.
you missed a class, come on in. We'll square it away, but it doesn't have to be me. Everybody here got the same thing. If you connect with a buddy, like do whatever you have to do. But if you and that's the thing, like in an AP class, the pace is so fast. Oh my gosh, if
Yep.
you miss a couple of days, holy cow, right? The pace is so fast. So anybody can teach, right? Doesn't have to be me. So, and the other thing that I think about a lot too, and maybe your generation, you got some of this, but I didn't as a student, when I don't have a good example right here, but um, when I was a college student and a high school student, you got a textbook.
Yeah.
That was what you got. Today, you have YouTube, you have every platform out there to teach you everything. There are other ways to, if you miss a class or you didn't get it when the teacher said it, or you just weren't invested, now you've got all these other ways, resources, and opportunities. And I totally encourage students tap into that because I may not say it in a way that makes sense to you. So tap into it in another way. And so I'm not sure like what we can say and what we can't say, but I have essentially like a web page and I post all kinds of little videos, links, other people like giving the same kind of talk that I gave, but maybe you hear it better when they get it. So the answer is, I feel like so to answer your question, maybe a little better, when I have some of those students that are just really limping along and really
Yeah.
struggling, but overwhelmingly, what so many of them say is like, I like your class. I want to stay in your class. I don't want to move to a different class or to change. Like if it's a struggling student and it's like, let's say it's an honors level class. Rarely, I'll be honest with you, I haven't lost a student in years. I had over 100 AP biology students this year and I didn't lose not one of them. They
Congrats.
stuck with me all year long. I
Good
had
for
one
you.
student that switched over and became my intern because she's like, I can't do all of this right now, and like intern for me. You
That's
can
amazing.
intern for me for a year, and now she's going to take AP biology next year.
That's awesome.
Jackpot. Perfect. Right. We find a way to make it all work. Rarely do I have a student that says
Can't.
this is not the right place for me. This is the right place for you, but we're going to help you along. It's a community effort, right?
Yep.
And then when I have those students that are some real high flyers, I really encourage them. I'm like, help, you go help that person right there, right? You go help them. I'm walking around, help them. And what an AP is a great example. So after the AP exam, I said, all right, you're going to do whatever you want to do. So some people did some amazing art on the walls, which is unreal. Some people wanted to do, if they were interested in databases, they wanted to do a bioinformatics thing. I'm like, perfect. I have this beautiful document. I'm going to share it with you. You want to do bioinformatics with another person? Perfect. Another thing that we did, and I bet you did this too. Did you make a dragon?
Yeah.
You remember that, don't you? Do you remember your dragon's name?
Sadly, I don't. Sadly, I
that's the end
don't.
of it. Right, that's right there. So one of the other things, like,
That's beautiful. You keep doing it.
I still do it. And
Yes.
one of the things you can do after the AP exam is you make your own dragon. So when as a student, you get the DNA and you go from DNA to RNA to protein to trait when you build
Yep.
your own. But what I ask students is like, all right, you're going to do it backward. You're going to make a dragon for students coming in following years. You're going to do it opposite. You're going to start with the trait and then go to the amino acids and then go to the RNA and the DNA. You write out, you build a new dragon for future students to use. There's great, Freeman Dyson said it, there's great satisfaction in building tools for other people to use.
Yes.
And so some students did that. And I had some students do some great labs. I have a partnership with a biotech. Oh, maybe, I don't know if we can we say other people's names?
By all means, yeah. Whoever you want.
Do you remember Emmett McCleary?
Emmett, yes. Did he do track? Yes. I do know I do know Emmett, yes.
Emmett now works for Mini PCR Bio.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
It's a biotech company. They make PCR machines.
Oh, wow.
Polymerase chain reaction. And so he's down the street from me. So this year I borrowed some I just got a grant so we can get our own mini PCR machines, but I had to borrow them this year. So I went and I drove down, I saw Emmett, we hung out for a while. I borrowed some mini PCR machines, brought them back to school, we used them, and then I drove them back to Arlington, Mass. However, sorry if I kind of twist it all about here.
Yeah.
So what I did with some students, so when I went to Mini PCR Bio, one of the founders of the company, and we can say Sebastian Craves, I think we can say names, he had all of these extra lab kits, and he said, you know what, we have all of these lab kits that we do quality control, so we just pick a kit off the shelf, we test it out, make sure it runs, and then we have the rest of the kit that we're not going to use, and we just put it back in the freezer or put it back in the shelves. And he's like, we can't sell these, so do you want them? Yes, I do. And I took everything he gave me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So some of the students after the AP exam, like, let's try out these new labs. Let's see which ones we like. So some of my students really
that's amazing.
I know some students are real lab heavy. Like, let's try this. Let's try that. Yep. So they're doing everything. It's organized, focused chaos, which I love. We went out birding, and so I gave you a ton of information for a very simple question that you asked. You find ways, for students. So some of those students that are real high flyers and they wanted more, they wanted that lab.
Yeah.
Right. They wanted that lab. They wanted to try it out. And it was awesome. There were some pieces missing. I just emailed Emmett. Hey, Emmett, you got these extra pieces? Yep. I'll ship them on Monday. Perfect. A student went and got them. Here we go. Run the lab. And so there are opportunities there for growth for students that want a little bit more.
That's beautiful. I really, really like that, because the one thing that I do want to ask, because you did mention that these opportunities happen after the AP test.
Yeah.
And I don't know, look, I know nothing about teaching. I don't know what the process is, what the syllabus needs to be, but I do know at the end of most years in high school, and definitely in, what's it called? Your junior and senior year when it comes to SATs and ACTs, do you feel restricted by the fact that you need to teach like with the expectation that your students pass the AP test, get a good score in the MCAS? How does that judge your teaching ability? Is that what you're graded on? Like how, like, just you've been doing it for a very long time, and like I did well in your class, so like I feel like you're doing good, right? So do you feel like that's a restriction? Do you just come to just build that around your syllabus? How much of a focus are you having on that from like day one up until the AP test, day one up until the MCAS?
Yeah, so two separate things there.
Yeah.
So take the AP exam first. So there are thousands of AP biology teachers across the nation, and we have, good groups on social media. We connect, we share, we have like platforms where we share lots of information. So I feel like there's a real community there to help us all. And good, bad, or otherwise, the curriculum for AP biology is really set. Like, this is what you're going to do. But how you do that is where the magic happens, right? Some people are really lecture based, some people are really lab based, some people do a mix of both. So the parameters are really set. The way the AP exam is structured is really set. But there are lots of ways to get to that. And there are some things that we have to do, like we have to practice open response questions for the AP exam.
Yep.
I owe it to students to finish the curriculum. I owe it to them to show them how to take this exam. I owe it to them. And MCAS is the same way. I owe it to them to finish the curriculum, to give them all the skills that they need to be successful. And we do that. But how we do that, that's where all of the magic comes in, and we can wave our magic wand, and everybody's a little bit different, right? So some teachers are really lecture based, and that works for them and their students. I'm not really buying that one. But other teachers are really lab based, hands-on based, learn from each other, talk it out, use the language of biology, use the speak. I think that grows a much better crop than doing it the other way. So do I feel handcuffed a little bit? A little bit. However, in some ways, I kind of like that. Like, you tell me you tell me the content I'm supposed to teach, and I'll do it. You're
Gotcha.
going to get it Joanne Purdy style, but I'll do it. And in some ways, you need a little bit of focus. Like, this
Of
is what.
course.
And so then you asked me, like, how much do I care about that? On a scale of 1 to wonderful, right? Wonderful being like the greatest experience ever. How much do I care? I'm kind of like a 2 or a 3. I will tell you that my students do awesome.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and like, can I give you numbers? Like, do you want?
By all means.
Oh,
Yeah, sure.
So last year I had just the way things shook out. Like in one class in particular, of my 19 students, 11 of my 19 students got 5s on the AP exam.
What are we talking about?
And
Yeah.
5 of them got 4s. So 16 out of my, and just, this is the class that I, off the top of my head, right? So 16 out of my 19 students got a 4 or a 5 on the AP.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful.
I had 2 students that got 3s, and then I had 1 student that didn't do well. And that student was missing for a lot of the year. So it's kind of a weird case.
Yeah.
But they do great because they feel good. They feel comfortable. They feel confident. Like, here we go. Off we go. We can do this.
I appreciate the honesty in that answer. When I was asking, how do you feel? What I was really asking is that how they judge you as a teacher on your yearly review? Are they looking at your numbers? You are expected to hit X amount percentage of students to get 5s, X amount to get,
I think there are people that look at that, but it does not. So I think maybe I'm unique.
Yeah.
But I actually have one of my closest friends is a teacher also in a very different district. She's not a science teacher. She teaches mostly English language arts, and her school is they're in the muck right now. They've got all kinds of people coming in, parameters, students not achieving, students not making effective progress, all kinds of garbage like that. And that becomes really, really miserable.
Yeah.
And because I teach the students that are like already kind of, many of them, not all of them, but many of them are already kind of motivated and driven. I don't have to, that's not part of what I have to push with every day. But
Yeah.
I have, some colleagues that have students that are really not invested. They're not interested in learning. That, it's a slog even to get them into the building every day. So they struggle a lot because, the state says we got to get everybody to, pass English language arts, a math, and a science. And the state says we got to do them all.
You
And
have to.
students that struggle to get out of bed in the morning, that I feel for those teachers. And that, again, that's a skill set that how do you work with that, right? How do you do that? I'm on the other end of the spectrum, I think. I mean, and I say this a lot, no teacher does less work. Like
Yep.
nobody does less work. But it's really, really different depending on the population of students that you have. So my students are going to do great.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to do, all of my students are going to pass MCAS all of the time. I don't worry about that. Most of them will be either high proficient or advanced. But I have colleagues that do worry about that just because they have a different population of students in front of them.
Gotcha. So just taking a little bit of a step back, and thank you so much for all this time. I'm getting to the end, but I want to talk about big picture, but just culture.
Yeah.
Being a new dad, school freaks me out. It freaks me out, right? So I'm nowhere close to even little guy going to school. So that's a different question for a different day. But I just what is the culture? Because when I was graduating high school, cell phones, like we just switched over from having those flip phone razors to the iPhones were like becoming more exactly. And now I can only imagine that everyone and their mother has the newest, greatest iPhone. I don't know how much of this stuff that you do know, but there's this just everyone is using Chat GPT to get their essays done in school. And I'm seeing stories of like teachers having to plug in essays and work and stuff. How have you, being a science teacher, and you're supposed to be pro technology and pro science and all this exciting things, how do you deal with all of this technology just like, I don't want to say taking over, but like just it's all day 24/7 everywhere all the time. How are you dealing with that with your students? How are you making sure that they're not distracted 24/7 and all this new tech that is just something that you have to keep up with and make sure that it's not interfering with the teaching?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I have two children of my own, 17 and 14.
Oh, okay. So you're
even possible. How I'm surrounded by teenagers. I love them. So to me, and to me, this is a tool.
Okay.
How are you going to use that tool? Right? Like, how are you going to use the tool? And with, artificial intelligence. And I tried it myself. So I'm like, all right, if students are making their way on it, I gotta know something about that. And I checked it out. I was blown away by what that thing could do.
It's a little scary. Yeah.
And good, bad, or otherwise, right? Because it's a community effort. The more people go into that, the more people ask questions and put stuff in there,
the better.
The smarter it gets.
Yep.
Right? I don't know, right? It's the teacher of us all, right?
Exactly.
To me, it's a tool.
Okay.
That phone is a tool. And I ask students, I'm like, one of the most important questions I ask students a lot at the beginning of the year is, what gets in the way of your learning? What gets in your way? And this is it, right? Your phone. Your phone distracts you. Phone distracts me too, right?
Exactly.
But you got to start those good habits. In the morning when I wake up, right? This is my alarm, right? It's amazing that this is everything now, right? This is the alarm. But as soon as, alarm, quick peek of the email, quick peek of like one of my favorite people that does her like reviews of politics, takes me 5 minutes to read. And then that phone goes, I put it downstairs in my purse. I do not touch it. Like, got to get to school, got to get kids out to school, got to get the husband out to school, like, got to go. Got to go. So like, it has to be a tool, and you have to, be responsible and use it responsibly. And, I know that I have students and I have family members that are just attached to that phone. put it away.
Yes.
Put it away.
Yeah.
Start good habits. My son is going off to high school next year, and he and I were talking about it last night, like while he was playing a video game, right?
Wait, do you mean college? You said 17. Oh, the 14-year-old.
Like 14
Sorry.
years
Yep.
old,
Yep.
going
Yep.
off to
Yep.
college. Yep. I'm sorry, going off to high school. And we were talking about, like, we got talking about like some good habits for next year. And, what are those good habits going to look like? And what kind of, really smart goals are you going to set for yourself? Is it reasonable to say that you get all your schoolwork done for the next day before you sit down at that video game?
Yeah.
Right. And that's that good habit. I'm not, and when I say homework done, I don't mean like checking the boxes. You did everything they told you to do. I'm like, did you read the question? Did you answer the question asked? Are you prepared and ready for tomorrow? Is your bag ready to go? Okay. All right. I'm ready to go. And okay, now I can go, play a video game. And then I got to go get a shower. And then I'm going to go chop some wood. And then I'm going to have dinner, And I get it, though. And I was just, I don't know if we can say all this stuff, but
by all means.
Just doing a Myers-Briggs personality test for myself, which I've done before. I don't know if you've ever done that before.
I've heard of it, but please explain, because I'm interested. I'm very interested. I'd love to know where you fell.
Right. It's Myers-Briggs. It's very common, and it determines if, like, the first one is, are you an I or an E? Are you an extrovert or an introvert?
Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah. And one of the last ones is I think it's judging or perceiving, and judging doesn't mean like judgment, being judgy. It means how you look at, essentially how you look at data and other things. Are you more thinking or more feeling? And my personality type is exactly what I kind of just said. I want to get all my ducks in a row. I'm not sure if you're like this too, but I have to get all my work done for the night before I sit down on that couch to watch Ted Lasso. Yeah. Because
great show. Good choice.
My gosh. And my husband now, like husband of 25 years, this summer, like that is kind of our like little commitment to each other. Like every night we get our like hour or two to ourselves to just, and our kids are older now, plop ourselves on the couch, and that's our hour or so to ourselves. But I have to get all of my ducks in a row before I can sit down on the couch. My husband's the total opposite. To him, the last minute is the best minute. And I don't function that way. Oh my gosh, like I got to make my lunch. I got to make lunch for kids. And he's like, oh, I'll throw something together in the morning. How can you do that? No, anything could happen in the morning. The sun could explode. Like, how can you do that?
Yeah.
So it comes down to, about technology. Like, to me, technology is a tool.
Yep.
And you have to use that tool effectively. You can't let it take over, because once it does, like, you're never coming back. So that's my feeling. And especially in itty bitty. And you know what? I think that your itty bitty is going to grow up, really differently around, using technology, because
100%.
Unfortunately, mine are 17 and 14. And so technology was really starting to pick up when they were itty bitties. So as a parent, this was good and bad, right? Like, okay, you got itty bitty in the back of the car, and they're, eating their snacks and, grumpy and fight. And you'll, like, once you get like a 3-year-old, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? You got to get on the car ride, and you're trying to focus, you're trying to drive, you're trying to pay attention, you're trying to sing songs with your kid, you're trying to do all the stuff. But you know what? I did it. Like, here you go. You want to watch a little video? I gotta load the dishwasher. I gotta this, I gotta that. You know what? You want to watch this little show for 30 minutes? Great. Oh, and that one show becomes 2 shows.
Exactly.
And now that 2 shows becomes 3 shows because mom was doing whatever. And if I went and turned off the TV, that was World War III.
Exactly.
And you got to handle that. So I think parents today with younger kids will use technology very, very differently. And you, generationally, you see the impacts of poor use of technology.
Oh my God.
Yes, you do. But I didn't, right? Because when my kids
I see.
There was no poor use of technology yet.
Yeah, everything was exciting and new, and let's go, right? Exactly. It's the information. Everyone has all the information in the world, and now it's like, exactly. Right? That was it.
Although I think that my students, right? Like, so the 2 kids I own are 14 and 17. And well, I own them, right? I got to say
Yeah.
that, but I own them. Yeah. um, and then the students I have in class, I think it's getting better. I really do, because I would say like 5 years ago, I think technology was much more of a mess, where this students were, have always been connected but couldn't put it away just because it was
Yep.
so new. This was spectacular. Whereas I think now students recognize, oh, if I go on this social media platform, like I'm just going to put it away because it's too much. So
I
I
love
think
that.
I think we're getting better.
Oh,
I
good.
think so.
Well, good. Um, if this is TMI, you don't have to answer, but do you mind telling me what you ended up at the Myers-Briggs?
Oh, hold on. I'm a visual learner, so I have to write it down. I am an ITSJ. I forget what order the other two letters.
Yeah.
So I think I'm introverted, thinking, sensing, judging.
Okay.
Which
That's
sounds
crazy.
terrible, but
No.
but it's just the word they use. When you think judging, you think of being judgy, but that's not
Yeah.
what judgy means. And I was like right on the border of introverted and extroverted. I'm kind of like half and half, but I was more introverted than extroverted. So I think when I'm like in my class, like this is my home, right? When I'm in my space, my peeps are here, right? And like the classroom is empty now, so it feels very strange without the energy of students in the classroom. And I'm definitely more thinking than feeling, but there's still plenty of feeling in there. Like you read the room and how people are doing. So some of them I was kind of on the cusp with, but it puts me in the category of just I'm the logical reasoner. I mean, that's
Gotcha.
the scientist in me, right?
100%. 100%. The introvert is the one that shocks me the most because I don't know, like just being your student, there's no way I would ever guess you'd be an introvert. There's no way in hell. Like I would have never. I would have been like, you're the furthest extrovert I know. I mean, yeah. Especially because, like you were saying, like there are some teachers, and I have had other science teachers, especially in college, that is major lecture, 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 and it just seems like a lecturer would be. Anyways, yeah, that does surprise me that you're an introvert, but yeah, it makes sense that you were on the cusp.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
I was kind of on the cusp for that one, but definitely more introverted than extroverted. I think, and one of the best questions is if you've had a really long, tough week, a big party is what you need at the end. I'm like, no,
No.
that is not what I need. I don't get my party.
You know, it's also funny. I'm good. Go ahead.
No, I need a quiet corner. That's what I need at the end of a long week.
100%. But it's also funny that, like, listen, I'm 29 years old, right? So it's also an age thing. Like you asked me this even like 2 years ago, and I'm like, where are we going this weekend? We're turning up. But now I'm like, can we just not do any of that, please?
Right. I agree with you. I think it's definitely an age thing too.
100%.
I know, Mother Nature gives us like 40 or 50 years, and then after that, you're on your own. Like, you need a new valve put in your heart. You got a sore back. You got nothing.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Ms. Purdy, I feel like we touched on quite a bit of things here. I wanted to just ask you specifically, is there anything that you wanted to share? And so the concept for this is just celebrating folks who do good things but doesn't get the credit, right? Are there things that you do that you want to share as a teacher, as a biology teacher specifically, someone that's teaching teachers? Is there something that you want to share that we haven't touched upon that you'd like the world to know? But we also did cover quite a bit.
We did.
Yeah.
To address one of the first things that you said, I think I don't care about the credit.
Huh?
I don't care about that. That's not even on my radar screen. It doesn't matter that it's me. It matters that it makes its way out. It matters that it radiates. Like I teach kids, those kids teach more kids, and it goes, right? The ideals that we get out of the classroom radiates out. That's what's important. Like, I don't care about the credit.
I love that.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Is there something I want the world to know? Teaching is a great career. It's a wonderful career. You know, working with other people, as you know, as a nurse, working with the general public
Oh
and
yeah.
working with people is exhausting,
That's the
but,
talk. Yep.
but worth it. But worth it. It's a meaningful life to work with others and to help others. It's you know, I felt, and I'm guessing you felt the same way, that you followed a career path where you felt like you made a difference,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Find your way to make a difference. Do what makes you feel good. And that's what I hope that people put together. That was the things that I wanted people to know, you know, and a creative life is a meaningful life. And
Yes.
a lot of creativity in teaching and in education. And when we work with other people, you know, it makes a difference. You know, if the pandemic has taught us anything, that's it. How important the relationships are between all of us, each other. My mother-in-law died of COVID and she was a nurse.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, she was a nurse for 40 plus, she was retired, but she was a nurse for 40 plus years and died of COVID. And, you know, we think about, we think about, all the things that the pandemic taught us. And I think that by far, that's the most, and it was like as a biology person, like the biggest biological event of
Yep.
all of our lives and the impact that it had, both good and bad. And so to answer your question, what would I want people to know? Teaching is a great career, and working with other people is an incredible way to spend a lifetime. It doesn't matter who gets the credit.
Exactly. I love that so much. And like when you said the good and the bad, not a lot of people see the COVID pandemic that way, but it truly, like, yet was it a good thing? Obviously not, but you have to look for the silver lining and figuring out, and especially during COVID, like as a nurse, exactly. Yeah. And it really made a lot of people, specifically myself, understand, like, what do I really want my home life to look like? When you're like stuck at home, it's like, is this the home life that I want? Am I doing the things, like, is this good for me? But that's another thing. The fact that you don't want the credit, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It truly is. I mean, and like, it's a part of why I do this. It's because the folks that don't get the credit, they're not looking for the credit, but God damn it, Joanne Purdy, you deserve it. You deserve it all. You deserve it all. You deserve it all. And then last thing about what you said, working with the general public, especially in situations like you and me, like I'm helping people like sick, they're like really bad days, but it is literally the general public. Anyone who comes into the hospital, you have to take care of them, right? Yep. And you're
Thank
dealing
gosh for that, right?
Exactly. And you're dealing with like every student from every corner of whatever city or town you're from, right? So you see it all. And then when you deal with students, you're 100% dealing with their parents. It is like, it forces you to be empathetic in ways you didn't know how to, right? Like, it forces you to see people in ways that you would just never imagine, because you have to understand what they're going through, to like just understand the situation and make your job doable.
Yeah. And two things. One, you know what you just said? You said, understand.
Yes.
You heard that, boss. I heard it. I'm influencing you.
Yeah. That's what we're here for.
Remember your roots.
Yeah.
But what you just said. So what's really interesting is the change in student population. You went to Newton North, and a really diverse school, really diverse. When I first came to Westboro was diverse, but not anywhere near as diverse as it is now.
Oh, okay.
I would say, and actually we knew this because of what was happening in India with the pandemic and the number of people, and we have an enormous number of students from India in our school and in neighboring schools too. My husband teaches in the next town over, same thing. So many people that are first generation. I have so many students that are not citizens. And they're going off to college, and now it's like, I can't get financial aid. I need a sponsor. I needed this. I can't get a that. It's, and, just to kind of, piggybacking on what you said, like working with people. How are we going to do this? How are we going to support all of these people? And, you said it, anybody that comes into the hospital, we treat everybody. Whoever walks through that door right there, you're mine. Here we
You
go.
teach it. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
This is
And
what
what
we
could
do.
I do?
Yep.
I love this.
I hear you. I hear you.
Miss Purdy, this is
You
beautiful.
gotta call
This
me
is
Joanne.
wonderful.
You keep calling me Miss Purdy. I'm joking.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No, it's so strange. It feels. I mean, even my own high school teachers, if I ran into them, they would, it's weird.
It really is. So Joanne, thank you so much, so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. I know that you said you have a website. I don't know if that is specifically for just the students you teach. Is that something that you want to shout out, or is that like a classroom thing?
It's a classroom thing. It's just a platform that I didn't know if we could share this. I just use
No,
Google
by all means, yeah.
No,
if you want to.
Google Classroom. It's just there are lots of platforms for teachers. We probably did it when you were a high school student. We probably used like a wiki page or something like that.
Something like that.
I think it was Purdy Platypus.
Yes, it was. It was Purdy Platypus. I do remember
Platypus. That was the one. And so when you were a high school student, there were these web pages all over the place, and it was a big mess. And you would try to remember and bookmark a page, right? How do you even do that? And we had carts of laptops and things that we rolled around.
Yeah.
As their own. And so it's a Google Classroom page, and I just put all kinds of stuff on there. Yeah, for students. And there are a lot of people in the AP community that put stuff out there for AP biology teachers. That's kind of next on my list, but I'll tell you, there are a lot of great AP biology teachers out there that have amazing resources for other AP teachers. And maybe I'm just going to leave that to them.
Yeah.
That's another lifetime for me. I'll do something else.
Well, Joanne, thank you so much. And yeah, to the folks that are watching, please just comment down in the section below, put the like button, the whole 9 yards. But Joanne, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. So that will be the end. And like I said, just to remind you, if there's anything you want out, just let me know. It usually takes me about a week, 2 weeks. The minute I post it is the minute I'll send you the link so you can go see it. And then just let me know.
How long is it? How long is it going to be?
So I'm looking at the clock. It's 7:43. So that's like an hour and 10, an hour and 15 minutes. So I'll probably I usually cut out all the the pauses, the stuff in the middle that usually cuts out a good 4 to 5 minutes for a length this long. And then if there's just if there's things that I think don't fit or just not making sense in the flow of the conversation, I'll cut that out. But I don't know. I usually have a good feel, and there's not much that I think I'm going to cut outside of the ums and the pauses. But like I said, please, if there's something you want out, just let me know.
Yeah. And so, all right. So now I want to hear all about your itty bitty. Tell me.
Oh, yeah. So his name is Leonidas. I call him Little Leo. And he's the most beautiful. I wish I could. You know what I can do here? Let me do this so you can actually see something. My shirt, my albums, and I'll pull up this so you can actually see. This will be so much easier. And I'm just going to share my screen here. Can you see?
No.
You can't see. Share. Oh, I didn't even click share. Oh. Can you see?
Oh.
Yeah, so this is the guy. This is my man, and I'm gonna just this is a while ago. I don't know how to.
I remember those days.
Oh my, yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
October 12th. My birthday's October 18th. It's a nice time of year to be born.
Yeah.
No, that was the ultrasound date.
Ultrasound. He's October 20th. October 20th. But this is
October 18th, right? Nice. Oh my gosh, look at him.
Yeah, look, this is our first Thanksgiving. That's my guy. This picture right here was his very first smile that I caught
Oh
on.
my gosh, and you captured it.
Yeah. Well, no, the first smile was many, many times before this, but the first one on camera. On
Gotcha.
camera. Yeah. The first time he was sick. Yeah, he's a superstar. This is
Oh
Christmas.
my word. Look
I,
at that.
yeah, this is him. This is my guy just chilling. We've got a Dr. Seuss style in his room, so we
Love
do
it. The
it's all
Lorax.
about, yep. He did some cute pictures. This when he
Oh
was a
my
little guy.
gosh. Look at
Val-
him.
that's Valentine's Day. I
Oh my.
love this kid.
So
I
I
love
know he's your whole life. He is
as a
now
yeah.
is so loved. You can tell. Oh my gosh, right?
Look at him. Yeah.
Oh my word. And so does he go to a childcare? Are you able to work your schedule so that
Me and my partner, just like you and your teacher husband, me and my partner are both nurses. We both work 2 days a week. And I wanted to ask you about that. That's the
yeah,
parenting advice I wanted to ask.
oh yeah,
Like I'm all about what's it called? Having him, I want him to go and get to know other kids. Because
yeah,
my sister had a kid 2 years ago, and
yeah,
that was in the midst of COVID. And she kept on telling me all of these COVID babies have separation anxiety and they can't leave their parents alone. And it's like they're afraid like 10 minutes without their parents. She's growing out of it, my niece,
yeah.
but she is telling me that that
So
was a very scary thing.
is that your partner right there in the plaid shirt?
Oh yes, I'm so sorry. Yes, that's Trinae.
Oh, how come
Yeah.
she looks really familiar to me?
I'm really not sure. Maybe you saw some pics on the Facebook because she is from Denver. That's why we're in Denver. So I don't know if she spent any time in
You were
Massachusetts,
beautiful. Oh my gosh.
right? This is
Love it.
actually Mother's Day. This is Mother's Day.
And that was her first Mother's Day.
Yep, that was our
Oh
first Mother's Day. That
gosh.
was the first Mother's Day. Look how cool he is. Look how cool Leo is.
You guys are amazing. You are so excited. You love being a dad.
Oh, it's
Oh,
amazing.
it is,
It's
it is, it
fantastic.
is when that little life, when they fall asleep on your shoulder and and he's babbling to you
Yep. Yep.
and and pretty soon, are you getting a daddy yet?
I'm getting Dada constantly.
You're getting
Yeah.
done.
I want to count it as his first word, but he doesn't say Dada. He says Dada, Dada, Dada. So, like, I want to count it, but I'm not sure yet.
You'll take it. That's it right there. I remember when my daughter is older and my son is younger. And I remember when my son was born, like I took his face and I would go like, mom, mom, mom. I'm like, I want a mom, like dad, like the way that, physiologically dad is easier
Yeah,
to do.
it really is.
But I do remember taking his face and going, mom, mom.
Yeah, that's my guy. That's my
Oh
guy.
he's adorable. Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So to answer your question, and I know this sounds terrible, but it kind of is the truth. You spend these initial months, weeks, years, like developing that bond, right? But that bond continues. But and if I like pick a thing, it's kind of like this. I feel like you keep like letting them get farther and farther and farther, and I know farther away because ultimately, right? Ultimately, you want them to be independent,
I mean, that is the goal, right?
right? That's
The
goal.
ultimate goal.
The ultimate goal is for them to
Yeah.
be independent people to go off and do good in the world, right? But you will do that. You will do that, right? You'll have this amazing bond with you and his mom, and like you'll have this incredible bond, but you want them to be part of the world, right?
Yeah.
So, but you'll work that out, right?
My sister's telling us that. My sister's like, you want to put him in daycare. You want to make sure that he gets to see other kids, that he's not just like mom, dad, mom, dad, mom, dad. And then she also says, you might also want to have more kids. And I'm like, I think I do.
yeah, right, because and those were hard. My daughter was different. I remember, I remember like that first day, like dropping her off, I was like, oh God, like, because she was born in April and she was with me, from April to September.
Oh, I
And
see.
I remember like, okay, you know, and but I was older. I was 31 when my daughter was born. I was 34 when my son was born. So I was a teacher for 10 years before.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I was a teacher for 10 years before, my daughter was born. So it felt a little bit different. And I remember being on maternity leave and it was just the strangest thing.
Yeah.
Like being like going to the grocery store in the middle of the day, like that,
Yep.
pushing a
Yep.
baby stroller around in the middle of the day. It's a strange thing. But yeah, you want them to be independent. You want to give them opportunities to be
To
independent
grow.
and right? That maybe that looks like daycare, but maybe it doesn't, right?
Mm.
It has to be what you and your partner feel good about. And if daycare doesn't feel good to you, then don't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's something it's something I definitely do want. It's just also like, I don't know about when you're the kids you own. I don't know when they were little. But
It
daycare costs an arm and a leg, right?
does. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that we both work 2 days a week and we don't have to get daycare.
And don't do it.
So the thing right now is more of a price thing. It is something that we think we should do. And we're thinking instead of doing like a full-time, it will probably
Like
be,
1 day a
yeah,
week.
exactly. 1 or 2 days a week. And it doesn't even have to be the like 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. It could be just do like a 4 hour, 1 or 2 days a week type situation.
Yeah,
I think is
and
where
that
we'll
way
start.
you and your partner can have time to go do something together that you want to do.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
get
Exactly.
an extra
Exactly.
hour of sleep or
Yeah.
right.
And just like when you said that thing about you and your partner having that hour, 2 hours with Ted Lasso, like just I know he's 7 months and like this first year is just insanity. There is no like romance, right? For this, but like we're finally getting to the place where his routine is good enough that
Yeah,
like we can start doing some of that stuff. And it's just so important. Oh my God. It's
yeah,
so important to have that.
yeah,
It
yeah.
really is.
Yep. And when my two, like, at those various points in life, and I remember like losing my mind when I had like a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And when I had a 3-year-old and a newborn, I was like, oh my God, like my mind. And it was really hard. And both my older one, especially, was really, really spirited as
Yeah.
an infant. Naps before she was 2, naps ended. That was it. She was like,
Oh
nope,
wow.
I'm up with you all day. And
Oh
she would look at
my.
me, oh yeah, she would look at me and she'd be like, I'm gonna push all your buttons today.
Ay, ay, ay.
Personality has not changed. But yeah, she's just a really, spirited kind of person. And my son was very different. He was much more chill, much more happy-go-lucky. Whatever happens, happens. Right? They're just, real. Like we're all different. They're all different too.
Exactly.
So the second one,
Yeah.
you never know what you're gonna get.
I think that because I'm so like we're so lucky with Leo. 7 months in, knock on wood. Hopefully it stays as chill as he is. But my mom keeps telling me, she's like, just look at your siblings. None of you guys are the same. Don't think that they're gonna come out the same. That's not like how life works.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. Grandma knows. Like,
Yes.
right. Ask any grandma. Like they know. Yeah. I hear you. And you'll make the right decisions, right? You'll go with your gut, you'll read the room, you work with people, your partner works with people, like you read the room and whatever feels right. And don't do what other people tell you to do. You do what you think feels right for you and for your family.
I love it. Joanne, thank you. And I'll keep in contact and I'll keep you posted. You let me know if there's anything you need.
Oh my gosh, you're the best. I'm so happy to hear how successful, and to hear how everything has worked out for you. I love it so
It
much.
really has. Like honest to God, it really has. It really, really has. I mean, like, I'm a nurse. My partner's a nurse. Like, I feel like things have worked out, right? Things have worked out.
I love it. And I was just going to say, I got distracted. My brain was thinking about 12 different things all at once, right? And I know what I was going to say. That didn't happen by accident, right? You're a hard worker. right? You're a hard worker. Like we like to chalk it up as, oh, opportunity, I got lucky, right place, right time. Yeah, but it takes hard work too, and clearly you're putting that in.
Well, thank you. And like a big part of me feeling like things worked out is that I get to do stuff like this, right? Like I'm not getting paid for this. This is just something I like to do. And it's just like you said in the beginning, you're so right. It's an obsession. It's something I get to do to just do. And I love it. I love it. I love it.
And
Life has been good.
it rejuvenates us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactamundo.
Yeah, go on with the other parts of the day, right?
Makes them go a little smoother a lot of the time. A lot of the time. It's a pleasure to talk to you, Joanne. Have a good weekend. It's about to be the weekend. And yeah, happy summer.
Happy summer and happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you.